All right, my friends, if you've noticed more people talking about getting into real estate lately, you're not imagining it. Becoming a realtor has become one of the hottest career moves out there, but before you jump in, there is so much to consider. Joining me now, local real estate agent Alana Grant. She's breaking down what it really takes to succeed in the business. This is a topic of conversation I feel like people aren't having enough, especially when I feel like so many people I'm seeing just in our community or just in general, I'm about to be a real estate agent.
Yes, so I have been practicing real estate now for 10 years, and people approach me pretty regularly about getting into real estate and what their interests are. And so I normally tell them about 3 to 4 things to consider before going out for a real estate license. And the first thing is their why, and to know your why.
Yes.
I bought my first home when I was 24, and when I got my closing disclosure, which shows the buyer and the seller basically where all the money in the transaction went, I saw how much money my agent made, and I said, "Oh, I could do that. I could use that money." And so that piqued my interest in real estate, and so I wanted to initially get into real estate to make some money on the side of my education career. And my why has developed since then. And while it is still in concert with my education career, my why is about helping people to build generational wealth, and it is about helping people to find a house for their home, which is their families, or whatever that composition of your family looks like. And so the knowing your why is important because in real estate, you need motivation.
For sure.
And the motivation cannot always be the money, because the money will shift with the market trends or with, good luck or with whatever is going on. And even in your transactions, sometimes every transaction doesn't make it to the closing table. And so agents really have to get out there and hustle to get and maintain their business, and you really just don't want that stressor, if you will, to be your motivator.
Absolutely. And here's one of the things too that I'll say. I feel like I think it's important as a potential seller or potential buyer to know your realtor's why, because I think it will make sure that y'all are aligned in that home buying, home selling process. Because, for example, like if I am looking to buy a home more so because I want to build that generational wealth, then I definitely want a realtor who understands like where I'm coming from. And it's different than a realtor who's like, hey, I'm just trying to make the best amount of money as possible, right?
Yes.
And so I think that's so important about knowing your why.
And that kind of feeds into my next point of knowing your team. And so as a realtor, it's not just you that's in the transaction. There's you, there's normally an attorney, a lender, and then most importantly, your client. And so it's really important to be a good student of people, know how good they are at receiving good and bad information, and know the best way to approach folks, but also know your craft. And so it's important for agents to know the contract. When you're buying a home or selling a home, you are signing tons of documents, and let's just be honest, people are not reading 10-page contracts. They are depending on their agent to be able to explain a 10-page contract in 10 minutes. And so you need to be able to know your craft, know all the options that are on the table for your transaction, and know a little bit about what your attorney is supposed to do, what your home inspectors are supposed to do, what your lender is supposed to do, so that you could be able to communicate that information to your clients.
Absolutely. And I think that that's, again, why you want to make sure that you have a well-versed real estate agent who really knows the process and can explain it to you in a way that you understand. I can't stress that enough. Like, if your realtor is talking over you or talking above what you can understand, it's okay to say, hey, I need you to break this down for me. Or maybe you just have to find a different realtor, and that's okay. Because one of the things that I say is, like, realtors are not one size fits all, right? Like, it's definitely okay to shop around and find the realtor that is best for you, which kind of, again, goes back to that know your why. For me, that's what I'm going to connect with my realtor, is like really knowing your why. But again, it's so important. If you want to be a realtor, you have to know the business in and out. You have to know the community in and out as well. Like, what areas are doing what areas could see potential growth. And so it's more than just, I'm gonna put this house for sale, or I'm gonna, buy this house.
Absolutely. It definitely makes a difference, not just in the numbers of the transaction, but how a transaction feels when you have a knowledgeable agent. And I think the most important thing for an agent to know is themselves and knowing their strengths and their weaknesses. And so I know my strength is communication. I'm a teacher by trade. And so when I see that a client doesn't understand, they don't have to tell me, because I know my strength and like, oh, didn't see that light bulb. Let me go over this one more time. And I explain to them what the transaction should look like, and then all the different areas of, where it could go or where it couldn't go, mainly to build some comfort, if you will, and for most people, they're the biggest purchase that they'll ever make in their life. And so I know that is my strength, but I know my weakness is tasking. I'm really just not good at it. And so what I did was I hired a transaction coordinator who is phenomenal at tasking, to make sure that, I don't do my clients a disservice by just acknowledging my weaknesses and then moving on from it. Like, I know that if I had to sit down and call 5 different home inspectors to find the best time for everybody to come at the same time for my client, that could take up my whole day. But I have a coordinator who could do it in 30 minutes. And so for that, it's really about knowing yourself. And so knowing your strengths and your weaknesses, and using that as your tool, if you will, to differentiate yourself from other agents. A lot of folks will come in and they'll see an agent on Instagram or TikTok or somewhere, and they'll just try to duplicate what it is that they do. And that doesn't work. You have to be authentic for your brand, if you will, to be sustainable. And so if you're kind of trying to just see what works for other people, it may not work for you. And so you don't want to have that level of stress. But you also don't want to have to maintain something that isn't really true to you. And so, for me, as much as I would love to be as consistent on social media as I can, I know that I'm not. I have 3 little kids.
I was about to say, you're a wife and a mom of 3.
I have 3 little kids. I have a wife, and I have another full-time job. And for me, like, I was featured on Columbia Business Monthly 2 years ago as an executive and an entrepreneur. That is the lane that I ride in, because I know that basically I'm going to get referrals from people that I work with in other spaces. And so I run with that instead of trying to duplicate what I see other agents being very successful at doing in their own lanes. And so just being able to be influenced in a way that still makes sense to you is also really important for folks who want to get into real estate.
Absolutely. I love that you said that. It's creating your own identity, because I think a lot of times, especially in like the social media culture, it's not necessarily people carving out their own lane, but just but repeating or trying to emulate what they've seen that's been done. And sometimes that works, but really, I love what you said. You've got to find out what works for you, know your why. I'd also like you to say that these points are just good for life. As you're talking, I'm like, this is really for any career, right? Know your craft, know your team, know your why, know you. It's so important. All right, so as we wrap up, any final thoughts on the boom of people becoming realtors? And I'm gonna say this because she's so sweet. It's not easy. Like, it's literally not, I can just make it happen. I see people do it all the time. I can make it happen. There's a lot of studying that goes into it, a lot of work, a lot of practice. And so if this is something that you're serious about, those 4 Ks, the 4 no's, is really good for you to have. But any final thoughts on the profession of becoming a realtor?
Always talk to another realtor. Now, I would recommend myself every time because, I'm in sales, so I can't not do that. But talk to a realtor before you get into real estate, and really talk to someone who you trust and who does well, so that you can really get a gauge on if it's a good fit for you. Like you said, a lot of people make it look easy. That's part of being good at what you do, is that it does look easy, but it is not. It takes a ton of mental fortitude to be able to go through interest rate hikes and market crashes and buyers' perceptions of the markets and prices going up and prices going down. It takes a lot of mental fortitude to be able to navigate all of that. And so talking with with an agent, and I always invite folks to, reach out to me via social media at Alana R. Grant on pretty much all the platforms, or they could go to my website at alanaismyrealtor.kw.com. But any way that you can get in contact with an agent and have a real conversation about them, about those 4Ks that we talked about, I would highly recommend doing that before signing up for real estate classes.
Such good information there. And we know so many folks who want to enter this industry. So if you know somebody who's looking to become a realtor, maybe you're interested, what we're going to do is put this interview on our website, WLTX.com, to make it super easy for you to find everything you need to find. And again, these are also just great tips for life as well. But we're going to put this on our website, WLTX.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you.